Coach, your 12th national title last season, first since 2016. Where does last year's championship rank amongst them all?
I can't say it was totally unexpected, but there were periods of time in January and February where it didn't look like our team had the intangibles to have a championship season. And then it all kind of came together towards the end of February. And it may have been the best March NCAA tournament run that we've had in any of the championship teams. So for that, it was pretty special to watch them come together like that. And 12 and 11 is not the same to me, but that team's journey was so incredible. All the things that have happened to them, all the injuries and all the what ifs and all the coming up short. So I think it meant a lot to that particular team.
What was so special to watch about not only your team winning, but your relationship with Paige Bueckers? And you've had so many great players come through your program, so many that you have a great relationship. But it seems like your relationship with Paige is really special. How would you describe it since her leaving to the W?
Yeah, Paige is different. You know, she's the first one of these that have been total social media life. You know, all the other ones, I didn't have to try to figure out what they meant. You know, you know, what does that mean? What's that slang? You know, I didn't know anything. So the relationship with Paige started during recruiting, you know, and it was really important her freshman year because it was COVID year and we only kind of had each other, you know. There was very, very little going on. And it just grew, and it became incredibly good. It became contentious at times. It became difficult because the injuries, I knew what she wanted. I knew how hard she was working. I knew how frustrated she was. That the senior year that we had together, there were some really tough moments because she started to realize how hard this was going to be, and it was her last chance. And then finally, as it started to fall into place, I could see how much fun she was having, and I think it all hit her that last game. And, you know, a lot of people deserve championships and don't get them, so I can't say she deserved this, but she certainly was worthy of it. She certainly paid the price that you need to pay to win a championship.
Wow. It's so cool to see what she was able to accomplish, obviously, here, and then the next level in the W. Someone a lot of people are excited to watch is Azzi Fudd. She said that she had a long conversation with you when it came to talks about her coming back. What was that conversation like?
I tried to give her all the pros and cons of going and all the pros and cons of staying, what it would mean to her personally if she left, what it would mean to her personally and to us as a team if she stayed. And I asked her, are you ready to walk away from this and start something new? You know, I've had players that could have stayed another year, and they just said, I'm not doing this anymore, you know. And Paige was one of them. Paige could have stayed another year because she had the COVID and the red shirt. And you know, we all knew. I've had my run. I know this is, and I didn't know where Azzi was. So I just gave her all the things that I thought were pertinent, and I left it up to her. There's no pressure or anything like that. But I did say, I don't think you've played enough basketball to feel that confident going into the next level. I think they haven't seen you play enough basketball. And I think this year coming up, staying healthy, knock on wood, they'll get to see the full picture of who you are. And I think that will benefit you.
Which is exciting for all of us college basketball fans, that we get to also witness her. Do you feel like last year's Final Four performance was almost like a breakout moment for her?
I do, because right before that, she really, really struggled in the USC game. I think she was 1 for 9 at one point, and started to kind of step away from the challenge a little bit. And I'll tell you a quick funny story. We really needed a bucket coming out of a timeout, and I said to one of the coaches, I said, "Look, we've been working on something," and they said, "Yeah, let's run this thing." Now we've been doing this for 30 years, it seemed like, and we had just put it in like 2 weeks before that, and we hadn't run it in a game yet. I said, "Yeah, let's run this to get it. It'll get us an open three." And they go, "Yeah, that's a great idea." So I'm drawing it up on the board, and they go out on the court, and the coaches, a couple of them look at me and they go, "Seriously?" Because I drew it up for Azzi instead of Paige, and she was 1 for 9. And they go, "That's not who we meant. We meant draw it up for Paige." But I kind of had this feeling that at some point she's going to have to make one. And it was probably the biggest shot at the NCAA tournament for her, because it gave her the kind of confidence that carried over into what we did, the following week.
Yeah. How big is it that she's back for you all this year?
Yeah, I don't know that we would have been able to replace her for sure, because we don't have anybody with that kind of experience and that kind of scoring ability. So her and Sarah are kind of a bridge connection between last year's championship and what we hope to do this year. And I want to see Azzi be challenged, without the support, like with no Nika, no Paige, just you and a bunch of other guards that really haven't figured it out, and you're going to have to do more than you've ever done. And I want to see how she reacts to that, because I think that will help us win games, but it also give everybody at the next level that's looking at her a better, clearer picture of who she is.
Sarah Strong, a player you mentioned as one of those who bridged the gap from last year's championship team to this year's team.
Yeah.
What does she do best on the floor for you?
She kind of makes sure that she's, like I mentioned, that bridge. Like, we can use her to bring the ball up the floor and take the pressure off our guards. We can use her to create shots from the three-point line to take some of the pressure off our shooters. We can use her and post her up, take her some of the pressure off our big guys, and score in the lane. We can put her on the other team's best defender. We can use her to inbound the ball because we trust her as a passer. She's like a Swiss Army knife, but the biggest Swiss Army knife you've ever seen. They're not this size Swiss Army knife. So there's really no area of the court that we can't trust her to be really, really good at, because her personality is one of I'm comfortable doing it all, and doesn't force herself on the game, which is really incredible to me.
Well, it's incredible because obviously that in general is just hard to do, to have the mental toughness to not get caught up in everything happening around you. But she's an underclassman, and it feels like this trend of underclassmen having a pretty big impact right away in college is happening sooner and sooner. What do you chalk that up to?
I think it goes in cycles. I think some of the classes the last couple of years have been okay. They've been good, but they haven't been deep. There haven't been a lot of them. I mean, you saw a lot of kids go into WNBA the last couple of years, like lottery picks get cut, like they're just not ready. Right. I think this new crop, the last 2 or 3 years maybe, I think they come in a little more confident, a little more sure of themselves, a little cockier, wanting the big moment, So I think it's made it better for everybody, for them. I like that Sarah came in and there was we've heard a lot about this kid, but not a lot of people have seen her, you know? So sometimes that is refreshing for a kid. You know, it's the first time. And maybe because, you know, they've been exposed to USA basketball, they've been exposed to playing at a real high level internationally, they look forward to the big moment. Yeah. And some of these other kids that came before them were not quite ready for that.
Sarah Strong was ready as ever for that,
Yeah.
it seems. She's worked on being more of a vocal leader this offseason. How
Yeah.
important is that going to be for her for your success this year?
The hardest thing to do is make somebody into a leader. You just have to give them, hopefully give them the tools and let them run with it. Some don't want any part of it because putting yourself out there as a leader, you're exposing yourself, and then you have to be able to back it up. And not every kid wants that kind of responsibility. Sarah does. You know, she's not loud. So you might see her just walk up to one of her teammates, and you'll never know what she said, but she'll try to change that kid's trajectory during the game. We need a rebound. She's not going to say to somebody, hey, we need a rebound. She's just going to go get one. The kind of leaders that you like are the ones that, look, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to help you with this. Mm-hmm. And they're the kind of leaders that people rally around, and she's got that. She's got all that.
What's it going to take for this team to repeat as national champions?
Our guards have to get better. Our guards have to become more consistent as scorers. The big play abilities that we had when Paige was here, you know, people, you know, we played Oklahoma. We're down at halftime. Paige got 40. So, you know, did we replace that? You know, we're going to have to be better. We're going to have to be better than we were last year to make up for what Paige did. And what also has to happen is someone else has to step up and become that third or fourth scorer behind Sarah and Azzi that we can count on. So I'm sure we have the same issues that every other team has that maybe you'll be talking to. But we have a pretty good place to start.
Pretty good when you got Azzi and Sarah. I was going to say, I don't think most people would want that as well. Current state of college basketball, a lot of transfer portal has been happening. How would you kind of describe how the transfer portal has changed college basketball?
The transfer portal serves two purposes, I think. One, it allows players to find the place that maybe is a better fit for them. Two, it allows teams, programs, to build teams quicker. Yeah. Okay? So you'll have maybe more good teams because how quickly you can build one. You don't have to go through 3 years of recruiting in high school. So the portal has really helped in that way. It's also helped in if a player doesn't make it at your school, they leave, and there's no stigma like there used to be back in the day, right? Oh, my God, that school has a lot of transfers. Well, now if kids don't transfer, your program's not any good, you know? So it's weird the way it's changed. The bad thing about the portal is there's no repercussions on it. There's no ramifications. You go, you play a year, you leave. You go, next school, play a year, you leave. Where do you get to build anything? Where do you have a connection to after being at 3 schools in 4 years? So it's like anything else new that comes along. There's so many benefits to it, and there's so many drawbacks to it. And if we can figure out how to kind of put those two things together and chop off the sharp edges, then it can be really, really good. But right now, it's a toss-up.